I'm always trying to find some different kinds of games for this video series. And this time I thought it could be interesting to tackle a game with a lot of RNG which changes the way you need to tackle the game and the strategies you need to use, where everything could change based on the initial seed. Exactly. This is a week to speedrun Sudoku. I started by doing a little bit of practice, and for this speedrun I decided to go with expert mode. The problem is that at first I couldn't really finish any run without the use of any helps, but slowly I started to do some progress. The speedrunning community around Sudoku is really interesting. They mostly do tourneys, but there are some really detailed guides that are really useful, and there are a lot of strategies. Because I didn't have much time, I tried to only learn the most basic strategies that you can use. So there are some strategies that you can use. Let's say that there are already some numbers in our Sudoku and that we know, for instance, that this square can be either a 3 or a 4. Same goes for this square and same here. Now what does this mean? Okay, let's say, let me change color, that this is a 3. Okay? Then it follows that this must be a 4, this must be a 4, and this must be a 3. The most important thing here is that in this column and in this column we now have both a 3 and a 4. So the 3 and 4 cannot be in any other place in these columns. Now, what would have happened if instead this was a 4? Basically the same thing. Sure, the numbers are swapped, but again, in this column and in this column there cannot be any 3 and 4s. And so when we see a situation like this one, we can already exclude 3s and 4s from these two columns. This works for the rows too, and it doesn't have to be 3s and 4s. This was just an example. And this is called an X-wing. An easier strat would be if you find out that in this block the 3 can go only here or here, and let's say there is a 3 here. Okay? Now, let's say that up here we have these two places where the 3 can be. We already know that this is the correct 3. Why? Because if we were to put a 3 here, let me try, this would exclude 3s from going into this column, so it would exclude these two. But as we said before, these two are the only possibilities in this block. Maybe because there are already numbers in this block, and this is impossible. So to avoid this impossibility, we need to conclude that the 3 must go here. Another strategy, and this is like the last resort, is let's say that there is either a 3 or a 4 here, and we really don't know what to do. What we can do is just guess. Let's say that there is a 4 here, and maybe because we put this 4 here, now we know that there must be a 4 here, and maybe that puts a 6 here, and so on and so forth. And at some point we might run into a paradox. We might run into a situation in which the only place where a 4 can go into this box is here, and this is a paradox because there are two 4s in the same column. And now we know for certain that this is a 3. But let's say that at first we guessed the 3. So we guessed the 3, we can put some other numbers, maybe we can put a 3 here, and so on, a 1 here at some point, and then we don't run into a paradox. If you don't run into a paradox and you don't solve the Sudoku, you cannot be sure, at least for now, that this is actually a 3. If you don't run into a paradox, you cannot exactly be sure. So this can waste a lot of time. You need to be really careful when you use this strategy. And I don't know many other strategies, to be honest. I just try to populate the grid with my markings and see what I can do. Thanks to everything that I've learned, I was able to improve. I knew that maybe I could reach a really ambitious goal. Finishing a run of Sudoku in less than an hour. But something like this requires so much luck and ability for someone that has only started a week ago. So I really wasn't sure I could do it. And this is where I was mistaken, because while it hasn't been easy, I was able to finish an expert level Sudoku in less than an hour. In fact, I was able to do it in 57 minutes. And as you can see, I was pretty happy about it. So yeah, this has been Awake to Speedrun Sudoku. Thank you to a channel called Cracking the Cryptic. You can find the link in the description because their guides are awesome. And I can say that I am satisfied with my PB. I know it's not the best time ever. There are people that can really destroy Sudokus, but I'm really satisfied. And I'll see you in the next video.